one thing I've been thinking a lot about lately is the value of waiting and observation, of letting the moment ripen before acting. I think this is something that's undervalued in our American culture and certainly our fitness culture. In fitness, we tend to practice only imposing ourselves upon the world. I mean, think about our terminology. Working out is putting your work, your effort into the world. Rarely do we practice observation or watching or responding at all to anything. But if you think about any sort of applied movement, any real world movement which might happen in your day, I mean, if you just think about, dancing with a partner or grappling with someone or riding down a wave, these things are just as much, if not more, about watching what's happening, observing how things are unfolding, as they are about you creating, about you imposing yourself onto the world and making beautiful movements. It doesn't matter if you have a beautiful triangle. If someone's got you smashed in side control, I mean, far be it from me to tell you can't get a triangle in side control, but there are other things which might be more ripe to explore in those moments. So your options are sort of constrained by what's happening, and what's best for that moment is, of course, only clear when you're paying attention to all the sensation of that moment. I think it's important that we find a way to practice these skills of not doing and observation into our movement practice, because I think it's severely lacking. One reason I've really been reflecting on this is that I just have found this little creek that's kind of given me some newfound inspiration with fly fishing, which I had kind of tapered off with a little bit lately. But the reason I really like this creek fishing is that there's lots of little features. There's very clear pockets of water where you can be pretty sure there's going to be fish feeding. So you're kind of picking apart the creek looking for them. And then the water's so damn clear that if you spend enough time, you'll be able to see the fish. Even if they're not rising, you can see them in there. And of course, midsummer, there's plenty of insects on the water. There's plenty of fish rising as well, so you can find them that way too. And so, unlike before, I found myself spending, 70% of the time just walking the creek looking for fish. Then 20% of the time after I spot one, just stalking in right behind it, trying to get as close as possible without without spooking them. And then 10% trying to figure out the presentation and not snag my line on the tree branch behind me and get that all dialed in. So this is kind of a contrast to fishing our local little stream where the water's a bit muddier and you really have no idea where the fish are unless they're rising. So with something like that, you just end up making hundreds of casts. So this is far more appealing to me, is to spend all this time looking for the fish, know that they're there, and then try to make the perfect cast to that fish. And then there's this sort of satisfying binary 1 or 0, did it take or did it not? You know whether you failed because the fish is there, versus scanning the whole river and having no idea if you've even put a fly in front of a fish. And I think it's kind of this beautiful sort of metaphor for, yes, you can make hundreds of casts on a river, but it really isn't going to matter unless you put that right cast in front of that fish. So all those extra casts are kind of wasted energy. So either you make hundreds, thousands of casts, or you spend your time looking for the fish, looking for that right presentation, and then focus on making, a handful of casts in a whole trip. And you know that those casts have a pretty good percentage of producing fish. So again, this style of fishing is satisfying to me, and I think it illustrates the advantage and the importance of observation, of not doing until the moment is right. Of course, one of the most profound ways to practice observation and listening is meditation. So I don't think I need to really plead that case for you. But I will say that one thing we could be doing to further our practice within movement is to be playing more. To be playing more partner games and these kinds of things, whether it is grappling or dance or whatever, to actually be improvising and moving according to the output of another being. That requires this deep listening and this instantaneous response, and I think that's a skill that definitely needs to break into the world of fitness. Once we begin to practice this skill of listening and observing, I think we'll find that our lives become simpler and more dialed in. We'll be moving, but we'll be moving according to our priorities and towards our intentions or goals. I think we need to allow more space in our days to just feel and observe these little moments. I wonder what hidden little opportunities we each have in our days that we just constantly are blindly walking past every day because we're so concerned with getting to where we think we need to go. What happens if we're listening, we're observing, and we're aware, and we see those opportunities pop up, and we're able to take advantage of them and enjoy them? What might unfold?